Hi, in November of 2008, after President Obama was elected, I knew what was coming. I was already a Republican Party precinct committeeman. I also knew that at that time, over 2/3 of the Republican Party precinct committeeman slots were unfilled. So I decided to try to change that. I created this website, and in January of 2010, I created the video you'll see immediately below. I urge my fellow Americans to get involved where it matters, in their own precincts, organizing and uniting politically for real political action inside a political party. For conservatives, that political party is the Republican Party. It doesn't take a lot of time, and just a few hours a month, and it works. I call this the neighborhood precinct committeeman strategy. As I said, it works. I wouldn't be telling you about it if it didn't work. It simply involves each of us conservatives spending a few hours organizing and uniting to get out the vote in our own political neighborhood, our own precinct. In my precinct here in Arizona, my fellow precinct committeemen and I got 86% of Republicans to the polls in the general election in 2012. That achievement only took us each 3 or 4 hours of dropping literature on the doorsteps and making telephone calls to those voters needing an extra little nudge from a neighbor to get to the polls. Is your country worth a few hours a month and a few hours during the primary election season? Are the futures of your kids and your grandchildren worth a few hours of your time each election cycle? If not, then turn this video off. There's no sense wasting your time. This video will only last about 10 minutes and will provide you the real solution for taking back your government. We must first take back a political party. So we have to get involved in party politics, political party politics, not just tea parties, but real political parties where the real ball game of politics is played. So why should you listen to me? Here's why. I'm a former Army intelligence officer, and I had special training on how to define a goal and then focus on the goal and then work backward from the goal. I'm also a trial lawyer, and I do the same thing in that profession as well. I'm a strategist. So first, let's define our goal. Our goal is to elect better people. To elect better people, we have to focus on winning the primary elections. The best way to have conservatives win the primary elections is by getting inside the Republican Party and filling up every vacant precinct committeeman slot, and then working together to help get out the vote for the best conservative candidates. As I said, this works. I made it work in my precinct and have helped make it work in other precincts. Most candidates don't know how to do this, and they are bamboozled by expert political consultants who tell them to run essentially marketing campaigns with email and radio ads and TV ads and signage instead of running a political campaign at the precinct level. If we conservatives fill up all the vacant PC slots and then organize and unite to effectively get out the vote, we can win the primary elections for the best conservative candidates. And like I said, this works. In 2007, I became a precinct committeeman. So when President Obama was elected in 2008, I didn't run off to form a Tea Party. I was already inside a political party. That's where the real ball game of politics is played. Since then, I've done whatever I can to try and educate Tea Partiers and 9/12ers and other good, decent conservatives to recognize that they can be most effective by filling up all the vacant precinct committeeman slots of the Republican Party. Conservatives, the Republican Party is there for the taking. Can we recruit 100,000 or 200,000 conservatives to invade their respective local party committee meetings to learn how to become precinct committeemen? We must do this. So working back from the goal of electing better people. To win the general election, conservatives must first win the primary election. To win the primary election, the conservative candidate has to get the most votes. Pretty simple, huh? The best way to get the most votes in the primary election is to have the greatest number of conservative precinct committeemen helping to get out the vote in every precinct. So if we conservatives want to elect better people, the best way to achieve that is to fill up all the vacant precinct committeeman slots inside the Republican Party where they each live. And that's what I've been doing here in Arizona and across the country. Can you do this? You can. I've done it. It's not hard. It's not rocket science. Recognize that voter turnout is typically very low in primary elections. For example, on average, in Republican Party primary elections, only about 20 to 25% of Republicans actually turn out to vote. If conservative candidates have conservative precinct committeemen helping them to get out the vote in every precinct, they can handily win. And again, they can win handily, and because half of the precinct committeeman slots in the Republican Party are still vacant, we've got a great opportunity. There's about 200,000 vacant precinct committeeman slots nationwide. If conservatives in the Tea Party movement and the 9/12 groups and other conservative groups would unite and organize inside the Republican Party in these precinct committeemen, they would take over the Republican Party lock, stock, and barrel. They've got to flock into the party and become precinct committeemen. And I'll teach you how to do this. It's not hard. Many conservatives complain that the Republican Party is not conservative enough for them. The reason the Republican Party is not conservative enough is because not enough of those same complaining conservatives are in the Republican Party as precinct committeemen. Are you in it? I don't mean are you a registered Republican or that you've sent money to the RNC. I mean, are you an actual card-carrying member of the Republican Party where you live that gives you the right to vote for the party leadership where you live? Because if you're not really in the real ball game of politics. The real ball game of politics is played inside the two major political parties. Mere registered voters do not get to elect the local, county, state, and national party leaders. Only precinct committeemen are eligible to do so. And this is a secret. The party establishment does not want you to know anything about this. That's why I'm telling you. And it's an open secret. This is just basic American civics. Only precinct committeemen get to vote for the party leaders. Only precinct committeemen can vote to endorse candidates on behalf of the party in the all-important, traditionally very low turnout primary elections, but you got to have a conservative majority to do that. If conservatives are in the majority on a local or county committee, they can vote to endorse the best conservative in the primary, and that carries a lot of political weight, and I've seen it happen. I've participated in that. Again, in 2008, over half of the Republican Party precinct committeeman slots across the country in every state and locale, on average, were vacant. That's a huge opportunity. Those filled slots were split about 50-50 between conservatives and moderates. So conservatives fill up the vacant precinct committeeman slots, and the 50-50 split now goes to a 75% conservative majority. Instead of having a half-strength, ideologically split party, you'll have a full-strength party where it needs to be strongest in the neighborhoods and the precincts, and it will have a 75% majority in the internal voting ranks. So conservatives can elect conservative party leaders. This ideological split in the precinct committeeman ranks inside the Republican Party is manifested in who gets elected to the chairmanship of the Republican National Committee. Now think about who the last couple of RNC chairmen have been. Because precinct committeemen and only precinct committeemen elect indirectly state party chairman and state national committeemen and the committee women. So they elect delegates to elect those people. Those people serve on the Republican National Committee and elect the RNC chairman. So fill up all the vacant precinct committeeman slots with conservatives, and we conservatives will be able to elect greater numbers of conservatives to the Republican National Committee, who in turn will then be able to elect someone like Ted Cruz or Mike Lee or Sarah Palin, somebody like that, to the chairmanship of the Republican Party. So Would you like to just talk about making that happen, or would you like to take action to make it happen? The choice is yours. Conservatives right now are splintered and not united politically. They're splintered politically in all the various Tea Party groups, the 912 groups, the Smart Girl Politics groups, the True the Vote groups, the Sarah Pack groups, etc., etc., etc. If all of the members of those conservative groups would unite inside their natural political home, their respective local Republican Party committees, and become precinct committeemen, they'd own the Republican Party. Instead of complaining about the Republican Party, they'd be the Republican Party. Stay in your group, join the Republican Party. This works. I've seen it happen with my own eyes. Now, for you independents, you're not even in the stadium when it comes to the ball game of politics. The real ball game of politics is played at the local legislative district, county, and state political party committee meetings by the precinct committeemen. By registering as an independent, you're shut out of this ball game completely. So if you're conservative, re-register as a Republican, come back into the ball game. Again, precinct committeemen and only precinct committeemen get to vote for party officers. Precinct committeemen and only precinct committeemen get to vote to endorse candidates in the primary elections. After you become a precinct committeeman, candidates start calling you, especially the incumbents, because they know that you have the power to get out the vote in your precinct in the all-important, traditionally very low turnout primary elections. Precinct committeemen get access to party, phone call, and walking sheets for their precincts. With a few hours of work, precinct committeemen can greatly increase the number of Republicans who will actually cast a vote. I've done this. I've seen it happen. It works. So, like I said, I've done this with my fellow precinct committeemen in my precinct. In the 2012 general election, we got 86% of the registered Republican voters in our precinct to actually go to the polls and vote. If we conservatives had united and organized to get out the vote in every precinct and achieved these results, we would now have a President Romney instead of a President Obama. We conservatives could have won the election for Romney in spite of his horrible campaign and the horrible advice he got from his campaign advisors to just run a marketing campaign instead of a ground game. I gave him and his wife this strategy, and it was ignored. Precinct committeeman has been called the most powerful political office in the world, and it's true. Go ahead and Google it. Today is September 29, 2013. You need to get started on this as deadlines are approaching. Each election cycle, there are statutory deadlines for becoming an elected precinct committeeman. In some states you run for a 2-year term, some 4. Call your county party chairman and find out when and where you need to show up for your party local committee meeting. Search the web. Look on this website. Take a look at the links to the state-specific information. It's not hard to become a voting member of the party, a precinct committeeman. It just takes a little bit of initiative on your part. You're a conservative American. You can do this. No? It's vital that you do. Now look, I can't guarantee that if you become a Republican Party precinct committeeman where you live, that we'll save our country. But I do know this. If you don't do this, and not enough other conservatives do this, we will lose our country as we know it. We'll lose our republic. We're losing it. Are you willing to take that chance of losing our republic? Incumbents don't care about rallies, faxes, letters, phone calls, or getting yelled at town hall meetings. If they did, Obamacare would not have passed in the first place, and Obamacare would have been defunded by now. The only thing incumbents care about is whether a credible challenger exists to take them out in their next primary election. John Boehner has no such fear, because in his congressional district, just like most across the country, conservatives are not united and organized for real political action inside the Republican Party where it really matters, in the precinct committeeman ranks. So have you ever received a mailer from any Republican Party office holder or from the party itself asking you to become a precinct committeeman? Why haven't you? Because the last thing those already inside the party want you to do is discover that the best use of your time and money is to invest it where you live by becoming a precinct committeeman. They know that if conservatives organize and unite for real political action inside the Republican Party at their respective monthly local Republican Party committee meetings, that they could be thrown out in the next primary election. And that their cronies in the party officer positions could be thrown out too. They want your money. They want you to volunteer to make get out the vote phone calls. They want you to help gather signatures for ballot initiatives and so forth. But they will never tell you about the fact that about 400,000 Republican Party precinct committeeman slots exist nationwide and that about 200,000 are vacant. They are terrified conservatives will figure this out. That's why you will never hear them breathe a word about this to conservatives. And many of the conservative Republicans in the House and Senate won't breathe a word about this because they fear that if conservatives filled up all the vacant precinct committeeman slots, conservatives, some conservative running from their right might get the support of those new precinct committeemen. And they might get thrown out in the next primary election as well. Go search the internet. See if you can find videos of speeches by conservative Republicans explaining to conservative audiences how and why to become precinct committeemen. I've yet to find one. Think of all the so-called conservative Republicans who have spoken at Tea Party rallies. Ever hear them exhort the Tea Partiers to become precinct committeemen? Oh, and have you ever heard the leaders of the so-called conservative public interest groups urge conservatives to become precinct committeemen? You know why they don't? Because they're afraid that if you figure out that all politics really is local and the real ball game of politics is played where you live, and that you should be spending your money and time there, that you'll end up not sending money to them. You've got to organize and unite for real political action where you live. And if you do that, you'll start winning local elections, and then the national elections will take care of themselves. So you ever hear the leaders of the Tea Party Patriots explain why and how to become a precinct committeeman? They won't, because if you did, their reason for existence will just have evaporated. Organize and unite politically for real political action where you live. You'll start winning locally, as I said, and if we did this everywhere, we'd also win nationally. So, what to do? Contact your local Republican Party committee to find out where your local party committee meets and go to the meeting. Tell those running the meeting that you want to become an elected member of the party. The rules are different in every state. Take along with you every conservative you know. Use the phone book. Use the internet. Be a squeaky wheel. You'll call these people, they won't call you back. Call them back. All of these people are volunteers, and many probably don't want to hear from you because they don't want you to show up. Assert yourself. Use common sense. It may be best to take a stealthy approach at first, lay low, but conservatives will welcome you, moderates may not, probably because you're a threat to them. Do some homework before you go. Take a look at the links that are at this site for your state. Get a copy of the Declaration of Independence and Constitution and read them over and over and study them over and over. We have to know what we're for, no? So most important, pray for your country. Ask God to help us. To help us. Ask Him to forgive us and for straying from His guidance. So pray, recruit, repeat. It's up to we the people. We the people have the power to throw out every 2 years every House member. So why don't we do that? We don't even come close to doing that. The reason we don't is because we conservatives are not organized and united politically where it really matters, inside our political party as precinct committeemen. So what are you going to do? It's your future and the future of your kids and grandkids worth a couple of hours a month to attend your local Republican Party committee meeting, where you'll learn how to organize and unite for real political action with other conservatives that can change the outcome of the primary and the general elections, and where you'll be able to meet the candidates face to face. Is the future of our country worth 3 or 4 hours of time during the primary election to help elect better people? I hope and pray so. Like I said, this works. Or are you just going to sit on the sidelines and let the Marxists and the progressives beat us? If you want to contact me, please send me an email, coldwarrior1978@gmail.com. coldwarrior1978@gmail.com. I'll try to help. Thank you.